All right, we got a video here. I mean, not video. A post here by Vigilant Fox. Kennedy just sat down with a human biologist, Gary Brecka, to outline his bold new plan to shift the medical system from one that serves big pharma to one that actually serves the people. During this interview, Kennedy shared what some might call a conspiracy theory, but it offers a compelling explanation as to why TV news suddenly stopped criticizing the pharmaceutical. Oh my God. It's because they pay for advertisements. That's why. They pay for a lot of the advertisements on TV, so it makes the TV stations afraid of criticizing them because they don't want to lose their they don't want to. Wait, is that why there's so many pharmaceutical ads on TV and stuff? It's not because they want to sell the medicine in that way. It's because they want to make anyone afraid of talking shit. I'll tell you what, if anybody sponsors me and they fuck up, I'm gonna talk shit. I'm sorry. That's just how it is. 20 years ago, it wasn't uncommon to see news segments questioning the safety or effectiveness of vaccines, but then it all went quiet. According to Kennedy, the silence was bought with pharmaceutical ad dollars. Big Pharma doesn't just advertise on TV news, they want to control the content. Kennedy revealed that the Fox News founder, Roger Ailes, once told him that 75% of the evening news ad revenue came from pharmaceutical companies. Oh my God. Guys, there's a reason. Listen, there's a reason I was able to make this video. Because we all know what it looks like. If you're in America, okay guys, if you're American, you know exactly what a pharmaceutical ad looks, sounds like. You can hear the music in your head. You know all of the beats of a pharmaceutical ad because they fucking play them nonstop in America. And that's the reason why I was able to make this ad, and that's the reason why it's so funny, because it's actually so true. Like, here, I'll play it again. But the pharmaceutical ad I made is so on point. Like, it's actually so real. Like, that's exactly how a pharmaceutical ad would be, right? Like this.
Why do I get triggered so easily? I used to be happy, but now I can't stop complaining about everything.
You might be suffering from Karenism. Try twice daily Asmongold to relieve 95% of symptoms in only 1 day.
Side effects include balding, roach infestation, Hassan, right-wing extremism, and balding.
It's not your fault. Reclaim your life. Ask your doctor about twice daily Asmongold 100 milligram tablets.
Thank you, Asmongold, for giving me back my happiness.
Isn't it only funny because it's true? Like, isn't it like that's exactly like, and the thing is, the fact that you know that it looks like a real pharma ad in terms of the structure, right? Like, I mean, obviously, like, you know, it's obviously AI and it's obviously like there's like less graphics than there should be. But the fact that like the beats, right? Like the formula is like exactly like an ad. Like you can feel it in your mind, right? And that's what's funny about it. Farah Lars is not true, but it's truly funny. You're Canadian though, Farah. You're Canadian though. If you're from America, you know what I'm talking about, right? The point I was making is that the fact that you know, the fact that you can hear it, you know exactly like the beats, you know exactly how it sounds like, you know exactly the voiceover they use, right? You know that music, you know I gen that music, guys? That music, the little music in the background, it is actually like, that's actually AI. But yeah, like you know what a pharma ad is like, and that's because you've watched so many of them, right? Because they're fucking everywhere. Anyway, 75% of his evening news and ad revenue came from pharmaceutical companies. So you see Jake Tapper on CNN, his paycheck may say CNN, but the money comes from Pfizer and other pharmaceutical giants flooding the airwaves with ads. And they know that, Kennedy said. They know they've got to toe the line. They've got to frighten us all about infectious disease. They're not giving us the real news. They're not asking the questions they ought to be asking. There's no skepticism, he added. 20 years ago, they used to say, yeah, there's a problem with vaccine or drugs. They never do that today. Let's watch the video here.
Television networks. And Roger Ailes told me one time that 75% of his advertising revenues on the evening news divisions were pharmaceutical ads.
I believe that just by observation, just as a consumer.
I mean, you can watch it. You can watch brought to you by Pfizer, brought to you by Pfizer.
Yeah. If you eliminate big food.
These drug companies must be so fucking pissed that RFK is in there. They did their fucking hardest to like keep him out. They probably did not expect that there was any possible way that Trump would let him in. So this probably caught them like off guard because it was so ridiculous. Like it wasn't really something that like you could, because they wouldn't do that, right? Before Trump, there's no way they would do that, or they would have people from the other side of the political aisle be members of like, being like members of the cabinet, right? Like that wouldn't happen, right? So it's so they must be so mad at like how this happened, right? Because they wanted to keep this guy out.
And Pharma from I mean, just if you
watch
the
bankrupt.
Super Bowl,
So
it would have been Super Bowl ads.
Those companies are doing that partially because the evening news is very attractive to drug companies because young people don't watch news. It's all older people, and those are their customers. They're people who are taking all this whole, arsenal, this battery of drugs. But
what? To be fair, I don't watch the news anymore. To be fair, I don't watch the news anymore. I used to. I don't anymore. The only reason I watched the news was because Tucker was on TV. And after he left, I just don't watch it anymore.
they also do it to control content.
Yeah.
That's why you see defense contractors advertising on, Good Morning America. Nobody's going to buy, a Tomahawk missile on who's watching Good Morning America. But they advertise because they want to control the content. And if you look astounding. At, Anderson Cooper.
Man, that makes so much sense, actually. Because I always thought that, okay, guys, listen, I always thought it, oh my God, this makes so much sense. Because I always thought it was weird. I was always like, why would you advertise drugs to freaking the average person when like the doctors are the ones prescribing it? So like, why the fuck would you spend all this money advertising to the everyday person on the off chance? Like, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't go to the doctor and I'm not like, hey, how about that one thing I saw in the commercial? I don't really do that. You know what I mean? Like, dude, does anybody, I mean, I'd imagine there might be like some small percentage of people that do that, but like, I don't think, okay, tell me, have any of you guys ever done that? Like you've gone to the doctor and then you've been like, yeah, what about this drug though? Okay, let me change it. Has anybody done that? Has anybody done that and been like, yeah, I saw this ad for this medicine. What do you think of this one? Have you guys ever asked them about that? I saw 2 yeses. I know people who asked about Ozempic. Isn't that because, like, hold on. I don't know. I don't know how true this is, but isn't it specifically with Ozempic because like all the girls were telling each other about it? Isn't that why? Is it really because of the ads, or is it because all the women got together and it was like, oh, well, I lost weight because I took this thing. It's like, oh my God, I want it too. Isn't that what happened? Man, that shit can't be good for you. There's no way. There's no way that shit's good for you. Anyway, I'm like guys, I'm the type of person that I try not to take medicine. I know. I mean, I don't want to say follow me. I'm not like a good example here. I'm the kind of person where like I literally have to be forced to take like Advil, basically. Like I won't even take Advil because I don't like it. I don't like taking any sort of medicine, and it's like anytime I do, it's because I'm at like the limit. Oh, it's for a utility purpose if I ever have to take medicine. So it's like, I'll give you an example of like a case where I would take medicine. I have a patch due tomorrow and I have a splitting headache and it's preventing me from thinking, then I'll take like a medicine. But like even then, that's like so rare. Like I literally get to the limit before I do it. I get to the point of like I absolutely have to take it in order to do it. Otherwise, I don't. I don't take Advil or anything. I do eat mushrooms though. I eat mushrooms. I take like mushroom powder. That's the only thing. But anyway, the point of what I was saying is that I don't fuck, what was the point of what I was saying? Right, is I forgot. Okay, you know what? Forget it.
You know, any of these, or Lester Holt or Jake Tapper, their salaries are their paycheck is being paid by the network.
Right.
Their salaries are actually coming from pharmaceutical companies, and they know that.
Right.
And they know that they can't, that they got to toe the line, and they got to say, they got to frighten us all about infectious disease. They got to make us all do the, comply with the pharmaceutical mandates, and they're not giving us the real news. They're not asking the questions that they ought to be asking. There's no skepticism. And if you look at these news shows like 60 Minutes or even Anderson or Sanjay,
I want a tangent so badly, but I'm gonna stay the course, guys. Stay the course.
Yeah.
20 years ago, they were saying, there's problems with this, with vaccines or these other drugs.
Right.
They will never do that today.
Man, that's crazy, dude. Like, I mean, it makes so much sense that like they're advertising not even to get you to buy it, not even to get you as a consumer specifically to buy it, but so that they can control the media and be like, if you talk any shit about us or release a story that is negative to us, then we'll pull our advertisement. They're basically like using it. They're using it as a way to control information. That's crazy, actually. Albury, thank you again for the bits. I had to research my own because the doctors had been keeping me on acid reflux medication for dude. You want to know the problem? Hold on. I think the big problem with like and I was talking to a friend about this yesterday. I think the big problem with a lot of so multiple things can be true at the same time. On one hand, with the pharmaceutical industry, you do need money to innovate, right? Like you have to have money in the system, right? And in order to, so if you don't have a public healthcare system, if it's competition based, then it leads to more innovation. That just makes sense because competition leads to innovation. Because you need competition and drive in order to competition. So the reward is money. The drive for that money creates competition, which creates better stuff. Now, while that's true, I think there's another problem that's hidden underneath that. Okay. I was talking to my friend about socialized healthcare. He was like trying to convince me that socialized healthcare was good. And the reason I don't think it's good is two reasons. Is one, saying you're going to give it to everybody doesn't create more. It doesn't create innovation, basically. It's the competition that creates innovation. Anti-competitive measures make it less likely for there to be innovation. Now, that may be true, right? But I think there's a secret, sneaky fucking rogue in the shadows here. And you want to know what that is? The profit incentive being based on product that you can sell, right? Because the way medical stuff works right now is you have a problem. Let me give you something to fix that, right? And that something to fix it is usually in the form of a drug or something, right? And there's a profit incentive there, right? For you to sell more drugs. But what that does is there's no money in actually preventing these things from happening in the first place. So there's no profit incentive for making it so people don't have to go to the doctor. Because if people don't have to go to the doctor, like for instance, if you could say like, oh, you know, like, yeah, you need to drink more water. Like, you know, just like drink more water and like, you know, that stop eating that shit. That'll help this health problem, right? That doesn't cause you to go to the doctor, which doesn't cause you to get more drugs. If you're preventing people from going to the doctor, you're preventing people from purchasing drugs. Do you see what I mean? This just seems obvious to me. But there's no... The incentive doesn't lie with actually preventing people from having the problems in the first place. So we're always playing catch up, right? Anyway.
Is the other thing about pharmaceutical ads is the company gets a tax deduction on them. We're paying.
This is why I'm like so for. I'm like really for like the shit that RFK is pushing of like trying to remove like all of the shit in all of the shit in food. That's like them removing all sorts of things that are in our food supply. That is fucked up and weird.
Paying for the ads and we're paying for the product. And so, you know,
I mean, when you think about that, it's just, it's mind numbing. We're paying for the ads and we're paying for the product. Just when you said my agency gets the bill.
And we're paying for all the diseases that product is causing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it's different than any other kind of product and it's regulated differently. And those, you know, those regulations, you know, a drug company does not have carte blanche from FAA to advertise any product it wants. And there are conditions that we can place on it. And, you know, those are some of the things that we're looking at. The other thing, if you know there's going to be no effort at replicating your study, you have a huge incentive to change.
Oh, no question.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to devote probably 20% of NIH's budget to replication. Every study has to be replicated.
Wow.
Dude, that is true too. Is that the people who are doing these studies they obviously have a bias, right? They want it to be favorable for their product. So you need to have some, I mean, honestly, this is probably the one thing that the government is for. I still hate it though, because I know they're gonna fuck it up somehow. They always fuck it up. Government always fucks up shit. That's like almost a universal. You know how they have that thing that the only thing certain in life is death and taxes. I think there's a third thing. It's government fucking shit up. I think that's almost certain. That they will fuck something up. If you have them do something, it will be subpar.
We're going to publish the peer review for the first time. We're probably going to stop publishing in Lancet, New England Journal of Medicine, JAMA, and those other journals because they're all corrupt. And even the heads of those journals, like Marsh Angle, who for 20 years was the head of the New England Journal of Medicine, says that we no longer are a science journal. We are a vessel for pharmaceutical propaganda.
No kidding.
Because they control the journals. They buy the preprints, right? Which is, and they find out if you want to publish in a journal, you have to pay $10,000 to get the study published. So the pharmaceutical company concocts a study that shows the outcome that they want, that statins work or that SSRIs work, you know, and then they'll publish that. They pay to get that published.
Yeah.
And they order reprints from the journal. The reprints, as you know, it's a 5 or 6 page document that has the logo of the journal on it. They sell them for enormous profits, and then they give them to the pharmaceutical reps.
To go meet
hot looking girls and
my god, you guys ever watch? Oh my god, did you guys ever watch? There's a movie. Oh fuck, I don't remember what it's called. There was a movie about Oxy. Was it Oxy? Yeah, I think it was Oxy. Have you guys seen that movie? It's a movie about like selling, about how they basically they knew that the drug was addictive, but they were pretending like it wasn't. And then they basically hired a bunch of cute girls to sell it to like doctors. What was it name? Oh, I think it's called Painkiller movie. It was a pretty good Pretty good show. On the
Guys who go to the
kind of
doctor's
related.
office, take
Sorry, Crazy. You're gonna have to cut that out. It's but it was relevant.
hot-looking
doctors.
girls and hot-looking guys who go to the doctor's office, take them out to lunch, give them the preprint to say this product works. If why don't you prescribe it 500 times during the next month, and then I'll be back here to see you, right? With all these kind of implied promises of what's going to happen. And that's how this system works.
That is just astounding.
And so what we're going to do is change the system and say you can't, Richard Horton, who was the head of the Lancet,
Mm-hmm.
who really disgraced himself during COVID with the Lancet letter and all this.
I remember.
But he says the same thing. He says, we are no longer science journals. We are about promoting pharmaceutical products, and that's what we do. So unless these journals change dramatically, we are going to stop NIH scientists from publishing there, and we're going to create our own journals in-house in each of the institutes.
And they will become the preeminent journals.
And they're going to become the preeminent journals. Because if you get NIH funding, it is anointing you as a good, legitimate scientist.
Man.
In the war at FDA against alternative medicine, the war on stem cells, the war on chelating drugs, the war on peptides, the war on anything that is not going to make big
music
pharma.
to my ears.
The war on vitamins.
You guys feel like if they had the panacea, they wouldn't give it to anyone?
Yeah, vitamins, minerals, amino acids, nutrients, peptides. I mean, these things that can heal humanity.
Our position is that FDA has a job just to do the science on these kind of issues and then tell the public what they've learned from the science, but not tell people and not tell physicians what they can and cannot prescribe.
Yes.
And that if you want to take an experimental drug that, you can do that. You ought to be able to do that. You shouldn't have to go to Antigua. You shouldn't have to go to Antigua to get stem cells, which I had to do for my throat.
Right.
And they helped me enormously.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I have to go to Antigua for that? We don't want to have the Wild West. We want to make sure that information is out there, but we also want to respect the intelligence of the American people, the capacity of people who explore the outcomes that are going to benefit them the most. And of course, you're going to get a lot of charlatans, and you're going to get, people who get who have bad results. But ultimately, you can't prevent that either way.
I agree.
And leaving the whole thing in the hands of pharma is not working for us.
It's a good point. That the idea that big pharma should hold all the keys for this when they're obviously such bad actors in this is true. Yeah, man. Yeah, there's one thing I really agree with, and one thing I think that will benefit everybody without, that is outside of the system of insurance and things like that is just general health information of what of things that you could eat, what things that are in the food supply that are bad, all of this information I think would be really, really good to have. I mean, it's just talking about how seed oils are really bad for you, and certain preservatives and stuff being bad for you. I think having more information on that, but it's it almost feels like nobody cares about it, right? It feels like people don't really want to look into it. It's only in kind of individual people that are doing that, right? Like YouTube. You find videos on YouTube of researchers doing stuff on that. They're never in the mainstream. They're always kind of in the fringes of stuff, right? 2-4 House says I didn't know that sea oils are bad for you. Well, put it this way, man. Put it this way. The food industry and the government told everybody that trans fats were good for you. I'm old enough to remember that. Them telling everybody that oh yeah, this is the good stuff. Saturated fat's super bad for you. Eat these trans fats instead. And then so many people died from it.